obviously do have a bunch of engine codes on it. If you want to just move forward with the teardown on the engine, basically, if you want to do that, I got to basically tear the engine down, point of failure.
As a Turo host, the absolute worst thing that can happen is having your vehicles delisted on the platform. Because if you can't rent your vehicles, you can't make money. And the worst part is, sometimes there's nothing you can do to stop your vehicle from getting restricted on the platform. In this video, I'm going to tell you how one of my Turo vehicles recently got recalled off the platform. Not once, but twice, and how it has affected my overall Turo business. Also, what you can do to not only prepare, but make the best out of situations just like this. So in one of my most recent videos, I went into a breakdown about how I was actually having some doubts about where I was in my Turo business. A lot of these doubts stem from things like guest relations, accidents that guests were getting in my car. I even recently went through a lawsuit with a guest that I had on Turo as well. But one of the most pressing things that I actually had on my plate right now was that I just had a recall done on my most recent vehicle, which was my Kia Telluride. As you could probably tell, I didn't actually pull the trigger on ending my Turo business yet, and that was largely because a few days after I dropped that video, the Kia dealership called me and told me that the remedy was available to fix the recall on my truck. So after this news, of course, I took the truck up to the dealership as quickly as I could, but while I was up there, they also wound up telling me that it was time for me to do a routine tune-up on the vehicle, which included a few things like a flush, as well as changing out all the spark plugs. Now, overall, the recall fix was free, but this tune-up ran me about $800. I know y'all can probably relate to the fact that, man, it just seemed like every time you go to the dealership, you definitely coming out of pocket a few $100s. But nonetheless, after I got the recall fixed and got all the paperwork, I went right back to Turo, uploaded everything, and they was able to relist my vehicle. And although I was down $800 for the tune-up, I wasn't too mad because as soon as I got my vehicle listed again, in about an hour, I got booked out for another weekend trip. And to be honest, as far as bookings, this was the case for the next few weeks. Demand was booming. And with business going pretty well, I definitely put the thought of ending my Turo business to the back of my mind. I even been thinking of ways that I can scale up my Turo fleet and add additional cars. The first thing I've been thinking about is using commercial financing with a lender like Bank of America, but with car prices and interest rates so high right now, it's definitely making it more difficult to justify paying a high car note and cutting into your profits every month with a Turo car. The play that I'm probably going to run is purchasing a cash economy car using 0% interest business credit. It's one of my favorite plays because it beats paying high interest rates that come with financing cars, and you may not always have the outright cash to pay for a car up front. If you're able to get 0% interest for 9 to 12 months on a business credit card, this will allow you to buy the car up front and then rent it out in the meantime to earn back the money that you used to pay for it. And if you can do that in the 0% interest period, then essentially you never came out of pocket for the money used to buy this car, and whatever income that you make moving forward all goes in your pocket. And if y'all want more plays just like that on how I use business credit to invest in income producing assets, make sure y'all hit that like and subscribe button below. It really helps out the channel and pushes the message out to more bag chasers just like yourself as we all continue on our journey to reach our financial freedom. Let's get it. But just as I was feeling myself heating back up on Turo, little did I know I was about to get hit with another bomb. For the next couple weeks, the Telluride was almost completely booked out. Everything was going well. I mean, we hadn't had any accidents, no hiccups on any trips, and we were getting all 5-star ratings from guests. I mean, this was almost a perfect month until I got a message from not only Kia, but Turo letting me know that my vehicle now had an upcoming recall on it. And not only did it have a recall in the system, but Turo was now delisting my car from the platform yet again. And besides the overall frustration of getting hit with another recall for this Telluride, I was also super worried about the upcoming bookings that I already had in place for the car as well. Turo just released some updates stating that if your cancellation ratio drops under a certain percentage, you actually run the risk of getting kicked off the platform as a whole. Luckily, Turo canceled all my upcoming trips for me, so it didn't count against my metrics. But even still, I've had to go through so much since I first got this Telluride about a year ago. Besides a few guest incidents and minor damages, I've also had to go back to the dealership for now with its 2 recalls. I had to have the thermostat changed and a replacement battery. I definitely tried to do my best due diligence before I went and purchased this Kia Telluride, but you can never really tell what's going to happen after you finally buy a car. And the same goes with these recalls as well. It's pretty much impossible to tell if and when one of your cars is going to get hit with a specific recall. My best recommendation for at least trying to prepare for any recalls that may be on your vehicles is to make sure you check the NHTSA.gov website before you make any vehicle purchases. This government website will tell you any currently outstanding recalls on the vehicle or any previous ones that have been on there before. And in cases like this one on my Kia Telluride, sometimes the information on your recall is up there a little bit before Turo gets it. But still, the NHTSA.gov website is only a precautionary measure, and there's really no true way for you to know a recall is coming before it gets here. No cap, y'all, this is probably the first time in the 4 years of me renting cars on Turo that I've had this many issues back to back. I mean, just as everything was going good and I'm getting ready to scale up, I get hit with just another issue. And it's been like this all year. Like I said in my previous video, it's this exact type of pattern, which has actually got me reconsidering if I want to move forward as a host on the Turo platform at all. Now, it still took me a few days to get the car to the dealership. And when I got there, the representative told me that they still didn't have the remedy available to fix the recall. And this sucks because if I don't get the recall fixed, I can't rent the car on Turo. And if I can't rent the car on Turo, the vehicle isn't generating me any additional income, but I still have the expenses of the car note and the insurance. Bad combination. This is why I say you got to be extra careful if you decide to finance cars, specifically to rent them on the Turo platform. I would suggest, if you can, start with cash economy cars. That way there's no lingering debt on the vehicle after you make the decision to purchase it. And for all my fellow Turo hosts watching this video, let me know in the comments below what your favorite strategy is to acquire more vehicles for your Turo fleet. Do you like to go out to dealerships and finance your vehicles, or do you like to use cash and start out with those economy cars? Now, as far as this recall situation, in the meantime, I really just had to roll with the punches. I did decide to start renting the truck out privately for a few days in between. This way, I could still generate a little bit of income until I got this recall fixed. And when it wasn't being rented out privately, I also used the truck to haul materials from Home Depot back and forth to my real estate property so that I could finish this renovation in order to get one of my vacant units rented out with a tenant. Overall, in these situations, you really just got to be as creative as possible to use the resources you have at hand to still try to generate income or get things done until an overall solution or the remedy is available for your car. Luckily, within the next week, the dealership called me and let me know that they now had the parts available to fix this recall. So y'all already know I took the truck up to the dealership the very next day, and they pretty much told me to drop it off for a few hours while they fixed the recall. I was also super happy that they had everything available for the recall and they were going to do it free of charge. Come on, bag chasers, y'all know when it comes to business, nothing is ever that easy. And this story was far from over.
I'm tired, boss.
So after a few hours, I got a call from the dealership. They did tell me that they fixed the recall, but they also told me that my car came up with a few engine-related codes when they did a scan on the vehicle. And these weren't normal routine codes that came up with a small fix. The dealership had the audacity to tell me that now my engine was going to have to be replaced in this truck. At this point, I wasn't even surprised with the luck I've been having with this car. Although this was another issue to add to the list, at least when I first purchased this vehicle, it was a certified pre-owned, which means any engine or transmission related issues are going to be covered up to 100,000 miles. And luckily, I was still at about 80,000 with the truck. So after talking more with the dealership, they do think the engine is going to be covered, but they're going back and forth with the warranty team to go ahead and put the claim in as we speak.
As far as the engine is approved on it, obviously you're not paying for none of that. It goes right into the total of the invoice as far as the warranty coverage.
Which brings us to another point, that if you do decide to go finance cars, I definitely recommend getting an engine and powertrain warranty up until at least 100,000 miles on that vehicle. So at least if any non-wear and tear engine or transmission problems like this do occur, you can avoid yourself a big expense. Nonetheless, after dealing with all these issues back to back and a bunch of changes now on the platform, I've officially decided that scaling my Turo fleet just isn't going to be a main business priority of mine moving forward. Now, I do plan to probably still keep a few cars in my Turo fleet, and I'll do that just so I can keep making some additional income on the side every month. That way this income can pay things like my car note, my insurance, and just small expenses on the side as well. But I really can't see myself going over 4 or 5 cars in my rental fleet anytime in the future. And I definitely won't be financing any cars in the near future to rent on car sharing platforms either. I mean, honestly, I feel like I accomplished my main goal from when I started my Turo business 4 years ago. And that was to see if I can get into entrepreneurship and start a new business, start making additional income on the side with this business, and then leverage this additional income into bigger assets, specifically bigger assets like real estate. And I was able to use the additional income that I was bringing in to eventually purchase multi-unit properties that now bring me in a more passive form of income than my Turo business ever did. And if you want to know exactly how I did it, make sure you watch this video next.